Hello and welcome to another vidIQ live stream. I'm Dan, joined as always by Mr. Rob.
Hello, everybody. I'm waving at you with my hand, but right now I'm going to start waving at you with my live stream gloves.
I keep forgetting every week. I forget about the ridiculous gloves.
I never put them on a Tuesdays, Dan. For some weird reason, they're only Wednesday webinar live stream gloves. I don't know why that is.
It's the stress of not having to host the live stream, I think.
I think that's what it is. I think you are
Bring your
100% right. I can chill out a little bit. Well, I say chill out. It's still 30 degrees in this room, but I can relax a little bit more.
So every Wednesday we bring you kind of a topic of the week, and we do a whole bunch of Q&A. So get your questions ready. I always recommend that you have some sort of pen and paper or note document opened up so you can kind of write down your questions as we talk today. We have a special guest joining us once again. It is Miss Desiree.
Hey guys, how's it going?
How's it going? Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, happy social media day.
Happy International Social Media Day.
Yeah.
I had to make sure I got that right. So tell everybody first a little bit about you, and then I want to talk about International Social Media Day.
Sure. My name is Desiree. My relation to vidIQ is I am the hostess of the Women of YouTube podcast, where we tell the stories of female creators to inspire and help women to start and keep creating on YouTube. It's a really great, I really love it. It's a very big passion project for me. So I am super here for it. But what I do on YouTube is I have a YouTube channel that talks about helping you grow your business with better social media and content marketing. I've been a social media manager for about 12 years now. So I've been in the game for a minute. And so that's what my channel focuses on. And I actually launched my business on Social Media Day back in 2010.
I didn't know that on this very day.
On this very day, back when social media was just a baby filled with hopes and promises, and you didn't hate everybody that you knew on it yet.
Was this a coincidence or by design?
It was a 1,000% accident. I actually have my bachelor's. I wanted to be, when I was growing up from 10 years old, I wanted to be an animator for Disney. My parents took me to see Toy Story in theaters in 1995. I was 10. I was like, when I grow up, I'm going to be an animator. And that's what I did. That's what I went to college for. So I want to do. And then I was just faced with the recession when I graduated, and studios were closing down, games were losing funding, any opportunity I had to dive into the industry wasn't there. Mm-hmm. So I ended up moving back in with my parents in the town I live in, Phoenix. We have this website here called networkingphoenix.com, and I used it to go find networking events to go to hawk design, hey, graphic design, I can do it for stupid cheap. And people, grown-ups, started asking me, what's this Facebook thing? And so I was I had been on it since we could only get it with a college email. And one day someone was like, Desiree, you should be doing this for business. And I was like, no one's going to pay me to be on Facebook. Crazy. But here we are all these years later. So this is what I do.
And am I right in thinking that Facebook for the first time just recently got valued over $1 trillion? Did I read that somewhere, or did I imagine that?
Oh, probably. It sounds about right.
So when it comes to our Wednesday live streams, when we have a guest, we like to make sure that the conversation and the questions we get are kind of catered to their kind of niche. And your channel, which is linked down below, by the way, everyone should check it out, there's a very strong social media focus.
Mm-hmm. And it's all about content marketing and social, because it's always changing. There's always new rules. There's always ways to do it right and how to correct the wrong things. And so that's what I really focus on, with solving those problems for people.
So what I think we should talk about today are the ways that social media can be utilized by folks here who are, YouTubers. Maybe they're about to start a channel. Maybe they've just started a channel. They could be anywhere in their journey. And we want to talk specifically today about how you can be leveraging social media as a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of ways. Like, I'll just dive into this. Like, okay, like let's talk about like how you can use social media to help your YouTube channel, right? I think it's like probably our big objective. The one thing I know everyone's always asking everywhere is how do I grow my YouTube channel? Everyone wants to hit specific milestones like monetization and silver play buttons, all that kind of stuff. And social media does play a part of it, but you have to be doing it like very specifically, and you have to create uniquely and do a lot of things. So the first advice that I have for you when it comes to using social media to grow your channel is, first things first, you need to be cross promoting your content, but it's not in the way that you think. You don't want to be sharing your YouTube channel just like anywhere or the link to the video. What I really encourage people to do is native uploads of their video content. And whether it is the full video or just like a clip of the video with a call to action to go watch the full video over on YouTube, the most important thing in these situations is consumption. You really want to make sure that you're playing the algorithm games for the specific networks. Like Facebook is not about to be okay with you sharing a YouTube link, because not only is it taking you off of platform, but it's also going to, it's a link and they're direct competitors, and there's so many things that like everyone, like these are two companies that hate each other. And so by doing a YouTube share on a Facebook, you're like really hurting yourself. So by doing a native upload, you're going to be able to accomplish a lot of things. And a lot of things that people don't know about Facebook is like, you can make really good money on Facebook from their own monetization. There's like different milestones that you have to fit. Like if you just go Google Facebook monetization requirements, you'll see where your channel is. You have to have a certain number of followers. You have to have a certain number of watch minutes, almost just like YouTube, but they're not nearly as hard to get, especially when you do something people like to watch. So there's a lot of advertising dollars there. And since Facebook doesn't have nearly the amount of creators that YouTube has, but they get almost just as much ad dollars as YouTube does and Google does, like there's a lot of opportunity to make money over there. So if you are sharing your content natively on Facebook, you have a lot of opportunities to make more money and grow your visibility in your audience in two different places.
How would, say, the average Facebook video content differ from a YouTube video then, just if we're talking about natively and creating content to suit the audience for that platform?
Well, the biggest difference is you're not going to have the evergreen model that you can attach to videos. Like you don't have like you don't have anything that's like a suggested video. There's auto plays, and like if someone likes or watches the video, it shows up on your feed, and that's how you can kind of find new content. But for the most part, when you're uploading your video natively onto Facebook, you will have a window of like how well that video will do. And if you're going to get ad dollars and views at another point, it's going to be because someone's like gone to your Facebook page and they've gone into your video section and they're watching stuff. So it's very much like the two different methods. There's the right now content, like what's working now for you, and that's what you do with Facebook. And then there's this content that I keep using over and over again that's evergreen that I use on YouTube. Two separate things. I do not consider YouTube a social network. Like YouTube's a search engine that also will entertain me, but Facebook is a place where people socialize and share and talk about things, and there's just a different way of doing things. But you can legit use everything that you do with your YouTube videos over on Facebook: the thumbnail, the title, the tags, the messaging, everything.
What about those here who are still trying to figure out what of these platforms, which one should they be using? How many should they be using? One of the common things I think a lot of people do, I know I do this, if you start a new channel, you should at least reserve your names on all of the socials. But does that necessarily mean you should then make a strategy for each one and spend a whole bunch of time on it, depending on where you are in your journey? I'm guessing the answer kind of fluctuates.
Okay, sorry, ask it again.
It was really a great way to ask that. So what I'm basically asking is, when and how should I be utilizing all the social media platforms? Or should I ever use all of them at once?
You should never use them all. Claim them all. Every social network that comes out, go establish your name so no one takes it, right? So if you go to anything, for me, it's always Mrs. Desiree Rose, even if I'm not doing anything there. Like I own that because I don't want anyone to take it and misrepresent my brand. But when it comes to what you should do one thing at a time. Like if you're already going on YouTube, like if you feel, I feel like you're always changing and evolving and trying to keep up with what's happening with YouTube, you will reach a point though on YouTube where you're like, okay, I have a solid enough handle on what I'm doing here. Let me go try and see what I can do in these other places. Because part of building a brand and a business that's connected to YouTube was that's ultimately what will happen. Like that's the whole, like there's so many people, like the whole point of YouTube outside of doing something you love is you're going to make a business out of it. Like this is what ends up happening is making sure, okay, what can I do to grow it? And by expanding into different places where your audience might be, whether it's Instagram or Clubhouse or TikTok or Facebook, you want to make sure that you own that handle so it's consistent across the board, and then dive into one individually and then move on to the next and to move on to the next, knowing though that you have to keep maintaining what you've added in already.
Every time you start producing content for a social network, it's as if you've started, I like to think of it as if you start another YouTube channel, if that's how you want to think about it. You need to nurture that audience. You're trying to build followers. Rob mentioned earlier, you want to make content for the platform, which is why you don't want to just link your videos out every time. So these are all the types of things we're going to be talking about today. Anything else we want to talk about before we start to transition to Q&A?
I did have a follow-up question about, you talk about the almost like the permanence of content on YouTube, in that it can be more searchable, it can be more evergreen, whereas on Facebook it's more in the moment. Does that lead to a different style or format of content, in that maybe it's more entertainment based or more jumping on a cultural trend or theme of the moment? I seem to find now that whenever I'm on Facebook, all I see are montage videos of car accidents or like extreme moments, because I guess what happens is that I stop scrolling and I watch one of those videos for a minute and a half, and then Facebook seems to think that that's all I want to watch going forward. That and amazing soccer goals. That's all. That's the suggested videos I seem to get on Facebook these days.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, that's algorithm, right? Like we know that like YouTube, like you watch one video and then all of a sudden, like, I have seen nothing but videos from this creator or about this topic. And I think as YouTube continues to get into shorts, like shorts is where trending topics like will live for sure. And I think that what's really cool about being able to use social media and YouTube together is that you're going to be able to cross use the content, and like it's almost a form of like syndication, where you can use one piece of content and put it in lots of places. So if I create a reel or a TikTok video, I can use it as a story, as a YouTube short, as a reel and a TikTok, and I can put it on Facebook as well as a video for engagement. Like that's one video that I can do a whole bunch of stuff with. And if I'm uploading it natively to the platforms and then doing the things that the platforms individually want me to do, it's going to perform so much better and allow for me to increase my audience and have that appearance of being in more places. I am a big advocate, as someone who works with business owners, I'm a big advocate of being where my audience likes to consume content. There's a lot of people that don't have the patience for YouTube videos. All right. There's a lot of people that don't spend time here. There's a lot of people that just prefer to be on Instagram to consume content, or just be on TikTok to consume content, or just be on Facebook to consume content. So if I have the bandwidth and the ability to take one piece of content I've already spent so much time creating and do more with it, like that's what you got to do. Like, and that's what you should be doing to do more with stuff. And I love the idea of being able to create unique content for platforms. And then again, doing the crossroads. So it's not just about a YouTube video. It's about like, okay, I can make a unique TikTok and I can, share it in my shorts or on my Instagram reels and stuff like that. So it's really just kind of getting all of that together in a really good plan, because it's so powerful and it's such a great way for people to find you in a way that you didn't expect.
So would it be fair to say that it's better to promote the intrinsic value of that content within whatever platform it's on, as opposed to promoting yourself on other platforms? Because I put a poll up here, because we can now use polls in the live stream, and I did ask, do you promote your YouTube channel on other social media platforms? And 68% of people say yes, and 32% of people say no. So maybe perhaps I'm asking the wrong question there. It's like, do you how would I rephrase this question? It's like, do you promote the value of your content on platforms other than YouTube? Is perhaps a better way of phrasing that.
I always like to ask people this question. What is more important to you? Your content being viewed and associating you as the expert or resource or the go-to person for your topic, or that your views are on YouTube, right? And so
Right. I'm going to ask that as a poll right now.
That's a very specific thing to do, right? And a lot of people, depending on what their objectives are, they might actually say, I want my YouTube views because I'm in this place in my journey where the views matter, not like brand recognition. And so that's just kind of have to and I think there's no right or wrong answer to that. It really is based on where you are in your journey. I think Twitter is a fantastic place for you to share your actual YouTube videos and put them up there. I think Pinterest is a fantastic place for you to share actual links to your YouTube videos. I think Facebook and Instagram are not good places for you to share your videos to your YouTube channel. What you want to do is take your thumbnail and put it into Facebook or Instagram and be state the catch, whether it's are you struggling with this thing? Or, oh my God, you're never going to believe what happened in this thing. Head over to my YouTube channel and check it out. And then you don't even want to put the link to your YouTube channel. You just want to tell people to go to it. And maybe there's a graphic or a swipe or something. There's a way to do it to get the traffic to your YouTube channel. But for where I am at, because I know my audience is business people, for me, it's brand recognition and association rather than YouTube views. Don't get me wrong. I like my YouTube views. I just hit 2 million YouTube views actually over the weekend. But being able to, I can't take my YouTube views to the bank.
Congrats on 2 million views.
Thanks.
I love these YouTube polls because with that question, Desiree, you've just literally split our audience. There's already 60 people have voted on this. What is more important to you? 48% say YouTube views and 52% say YouTube brand recognition. So it's there really is a fine balance there, but as long as you acknowledge which direction you're going in, then as long as you know that that's your goal, then that's what you should aim towards.
I mean, there are so many ways to make money and brand recognition off of YouTube by using what you have on YouTube. Syndication is massive. There are whole agencies where their whole job is take your YouTube videos, edit them down to be flashy, catchy Facebook fast videos and upload them to your Facebook page, and with the number one objective being views for ad dollars. There are all these independent syndication networks, the one I know off of my head is with my friend Keisha. It's I think it's kpmedia.tv, where it's taking your existing content, your show, your live streams, your long form content, and then now let's put them up in places. Let's put them up on Roku TV, Amazon TV, all of these other streaming sites that come with your streaming devices. And then it increases your viewership, which gives you more legs to stand on to get sponsors and essentially commercial financial opportunities, just like you do with actual syndicated television. So there's so much that you can do. What's so fantastic about YouTube is it gives you such a great base to figure out who my audience is, what my content is about, and creating stuff that people want to watch. And once you know that, then it's time to expand and increase your opportunities. And social and online media does that for you.
I just want to quickly bring up Desiree's channel, by the way, with all of these knowledge bombs that you're dropping. If you do want to learn more directly from you, it's a nice little segue. And yeah, you are now 901 views above 2 million, according to these slightly delayed YouTube analytics. So congratulations, Desiree.
Thank you.
A round of applause there from everybody.
Almost 25,000 subscribers too, which is awesome.
As well, yeah, that's the next milestone. Coming up real soon.
So, sorry.
I would say it's not anywhere near 1 million like Rob's kicking ass at, but I'm getting there.
I want to give people a chance to vote on that poll, Rob, but I'm also kind of curious. This Q&A feels like us asking everybody else today, but I'm rather curious how many people here think of their channel as a brand. You know, whether they just started to because the idea has now been given to them through this conversation, or whether they're resistant to that. Like, I just want to have a fun YouTube channel, like brand. You know,
Yeah,
just kind of.
I'll post that in a couple of minutes. I'll remember, Dan.
I'm just curious. I feel like when we talk about promoting your or treating your YouTube channel as a brand, it's the same thing as saying treat it as a business, you know. And if you go into YouTube with a business mindset, I think it kind of changes the entire way you think about every video you post, every subscriber you earn, every view you manage to get. And it's, you know, it certainly changed the way I think about YouTube and how I upload content.
But what happens, Dan, if you're a brand / company and you treat it as a YouTube channel, which is kind of like what I do with vidIQ sometimes?
Yeah, it's working.
We do have tools, by the way. If you want to download them, we have plenty of tools that you can use to channel audit, keyword research. We just sometimes forget.
Wow, 144 votes. It really is down the middle.
Yeah.
It really is.
So, but yeah, I think that, like my reasons for getting into YouTube are business driven. I got onto YouTube because I run my social media agency, all-in-one social media, puts military spouses to work. That way they're able to work anywhere that they're stationed around the world to supplement their family's income, because I was a military spouse and I know the struggle that goes into having to move a lot, and money is always a thing, and it's a whole culture. But I was about to become one of those military spouses that I was helping, where we were being stationed in South Korea. And if I didn't have a way to bring in new leads to my agency, I couldn't keep helping these military spouses. And so YouTube allowed for me to establish myself as an expert and as a brand. And then people realize, well, why would I do it myself when I could just have her do it? And of course, I would talk about it and stuff. And we've talked about this in previous podcast episodes about I use my YouTube channel to get leads to my email list, right? Because I connect with my audience through my email list and convert them into sales there. So like, that's how I use. So I'm using my brand, and YouTube is a tool I use in part of my brand. Now, I know vidIQ is kind of a weird quirk because it's a tool for YouTube. So it makes sense to have a YouTube channel, but also vidIQ has different things that they do to help grow the brand. They have the podcast. They have my podcast, my YouTube podcast. They go to and sponsor events like Vid Summit and VidCon and stuff like that. So they have a presence in different ways. And with the ultimate goal being, we want to get people to sign up for our tool so that they can have YouTube success as well.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that your decision to create a YouTube channel was business driven. The reason I started a YouTube channel originally was creatively driven. I wanted a platform of expression because the articles I was writing or the music I was creating elsewhere, it was in a creative black hole. Nobody was listening to it. Nobody was reading it, etc., etc. But YouTube felt like the first platform where you could reach billions of people for free. And then it evolved from there. So it's interesting how me coming on board at vidIQ is kind of always been creatively community driven first, and sometimes business driven second, which is still one of the challenges I certainly have with the channel itself. Dan, what about you? Like, I'm guessing you're probably in a similar situation as to me, as you just felt like making videos because it was fun and people may watch them, at least to begin with.
Yeah, because I had a lot of interest in becoming a professional video editor, and when you when you start out like school age, you don't have any outlet for that. So there was YouTube, and I had video games, and I could record those video games, and so I would find ways to practice editing, putting together these videos, and then before you knew it, I was just obsessed with that whole creative process. It was very creative driven, but it was for a purpose kind of outside of YouTube at that time. So it does, like, all we're talking about right now are goals. It really comes down to what do you want to get out of YouTube, and it evolves. It certainly evolves over time too. You could have a channel where it's just for creative outlets, just for fun, but it takes off, and then kind of whether you like it or not. If you want it to remain successful and keep growing, you kind of do need to think about it as a business. You do need to think from the aspect of like, I'm a brand now. I need to treat myself as such. I need to make sure that I've locked down these social media handles, that people aren't using my name in ways I wouldn't approve of, and at the very least. So I'm kind of rambling now, but what, Desiree, for you, what was the original motivator for creating a YouTube channel?
Like I said, it was I needed leads for my agency. Like that.
You did say that. Sorry.
No, it's not. Yeah, I said it's not a big deal. Yeah, I need leads for agency, and like other things have spawned from it, like 1000%. Like I've been able to, have sponsorships. I get YouTube ads. I know who my demographic is. I've have been invited to. I get to speak in different places. Like everyone's objectives are different, and so it's just one of those things. It's like, I think it's always important to remember at some point in your YouTube journey, especially if you're having growth and success and hitting the path you want, business will step in, and you need to know like what your business objectives and goals are. And it's not just YouTube channel. It's not just about social media. It's about all the things that support it.
Absolutely. So I think it's about time we jump into Q&A. We're going to...
Yeah, I have set the slow mode for chat for 60 seconds now. This is just to help us see your questions. It's not that we don't want you to be commenting per se. So try and measure your questions for when we're ending the answer to another. But I know sometimes we can be answering a question for a long time, and that sometimes doesn't work.
So Desiree, you're up on the big screen now, and that's because our questions are going to be, not that we're going to just be quiet and let you answer 100 questions, but our questions are more going to be tailored to the theme of today's episode. What are we calling these? And social media is that theme. So we're going to be prioritizing those questions. If we completely run out, perhaps we'll have time for some more general YouTube questions. We get those all the time, though. Be sure to join us every Wednesday for all sorts of different themes of these Q&As. There are Wednesdays where we do talk more generally about these topics. So why don't we start getting some questions? And hashtag question at the beginning will help us kind of identify when someone's asking us a question versus just chatting away in chat.
Yep.
And now we get really quiet and we all try and find questions.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Let's see. Easy Bliss asks, how do I stay motivated when editing? Make sure you're creating content you really like. I mean, that's what I would say to keep motivated. And if you really hate something, if you can farm it out, there are a lot of really great places that will like edit for. I've had an editor from day one of my YouTube channel because I'm a mom and a military spouse and I have business. So it was something I knew would take time. And so I worked with someone on Fiverr. There are great services now like Video Husky where you can get really affordable editing. Like they can do, it's like $300 a month and they'll do like a couple videos for you every week. And they do a great job. I worked with them in the past. They're awesome.
That's another Facebook ad I've been getting a lot now. I think it's trying to tell me something that I'm a terrible editor and someone else should be doing it.
So funny.
I think I found this one. Chris Kowalski asked, should I upload the same video on YouTube and after on Facebook on my page, except sharing a link to YouTube video on my page?
Yes, upload natively whenever possible. Maybe if you're fancy, you could edit out like your YouTube calls to actions, like hit subscribe or whatever. But honestly, at the very minimum, just upload the exact same video you have, say title, thumbnail, description, keywords, and it'll help give you a starting place, see like what works, what doesn't work. Make sure though you check your Facebook analytics on your page to see what the best time is to post based on your audience.
Facebook is one of those that definitely rewards folks for using their platform for things. They don't, like you said earlier, they don't want you clicking people off of the site. And it doesn't take, I think, that much extra effort if you have the raw file to just go ahead and upload it.
Okay. I'm really excited about this question, the Hustle Factory podcast show. Okay, first of all, I love that you have a podcast, so I'm going to go check it out. Second, okay, how you use Pinterest. Okay, so let's talk about the different kind of options that we have first when we talk about online promotion. We have YouTube, blogging, and Pinterest, which are search engines. Then we have social, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, right? These are our two camps. This is evergreen, keeps working for us. Social, 24 to 48 hour shelf life on average. Obviously, there are flukes. How you use your Pinterest to as an extension of your promotion is the same things that you do with YouTube. You create a pin that's really catchy and beautiful and causes curiosity. And then you add your description in and you have your right hashtags in, which are your tags. And then you backlink to your YouTube video. And you can do this. You can make a ton of different pins to do all of the same thing. You could take your video and if you have specific quotes or statements or lists or something, you can turn those into pins and backlink to your YouTube channel. So people go onto Pinterest to search for things and to find answers to solutions, whether it's business related, video game related, skateboarding related, decorating related. They have people for that are there. So that's how you use Pinterest. And it's like, it's this super, like you can also do the same thing with Instagram or Facebook or your TikTok. Like you can upload all that content onto Pinterest and backlink it to where you want it to go.
Is it too naive to say that Pinterest is a female demographic skewed platform, or do you want that type of attitude from people because it allows those more in the know about Pinterest to continue to dominate that platform? If you just think, oh, I'm not going to use Pinterest because how my audience isn't going to be interested on that platform. Yeah.
So I think that it does. Okay. So it's 77% female and 23% male. So if you're a gamer and you talk to men, it might not be the best place for you, but you can always test it out and see how it goes. Because that's still 23% of that demographic is on there looking at stuff. Also, women game too. Like women make up 50% of the gaming market. So it's a place to consider sharing. The worst thing that can happen is you wasted your time testing, but you always want to test those kinds of things out. So
you just got yourself a follow.
Yeah, I'm never on Twitter though. I'm Instagrammer. Sorry. So if you follow me on Instagram, like that's where I hang out. I'm never on Twitter though.
I have a couple questions I've stopped chat for myself here.
Okay.
This one is how to get more YouTube views on Facebook. Is it better to just post a link with a picture or the link itself because they don't see it or something?
The secret hack that a lot of people have found success with is post a catchy message with a photo, like your thumbnail or whatever, and post the link to the YouTube video in the comments.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. Is it because if Facebook identifies a link within a post, they'll suppress it, but if it's in the comments, it's still going to have the same reach, so you just need to hope that somebody's going to see the first comment.
Yeah, it's kind of the like, you can even tell people like see comment for link and stuff. Facebook doesn't like links. Like Facebook does not want to take you off their platform. Like they just don't, unless it's a paid advertisement. So like even like blog posts and articles don't get a lot of it. And on top of it, it kind of messes with your engagement too, right? If you click on a link, you are so less likely to get that person to come back and comment on it, because once you come back, Facebook has like refreshed its feed on mobile and stuff. So it's this whole like thing. So if you do the comment, if you click the link in the comment, then you go back to the comments and you can message about it. So it's a better way, I think, to deliver. Kind of like Instagram with hashtags in the first comment, right? Like it just has a nice bonus to it.
Next question I pulled up here is, if your YouTube channel name is already taken on other platforms, what would be the next best option?
Change your YouTube. If you're talking, I think you're talking from a handle situation. Like you can be Our Simple Story everywhere, but you're talking about like your URL. I would change my YouTube URL and make them the same everywhere if you can. I know it depends on like if you've already claimed it or if like you're already a branding page or something, right? Am I right about that, guys? YouTube that's not my strength as much as yours.
you can make as many channels as you want. They're named exactly the same on YouTube, I think. So that's, you run into that. Oh, the URL.
Yeah, because some URL is only going to be one.
Yeah, you got to claim that when you can.
Yeah, and if you claim the one, then you kind of are in a little bit of a pickle. How I got around the URL issue, especially before I had hit my 100 subscribers when I was just getting started, I created a pretty link. So it would be like allinonesocialmedia.com/YouTube, and it would just be a redirect link. You also could create a landing page with a .com that's like oursimplestory.com/social, and then it could have like a list of where they could get to everything about, like, follow me on like my opt-in, my Facebook, my Instagram, like go follow me, where to follow me, that kind of a thing. Like, and you could do it that way. That might be a good way to get around having the different channel names.
When thinking of a name, I always judge in the moment, like how established is this other person with the name I want to use. And if it was somebody who made the account, the last tweet they did, for example, was like 2 years ago, and they have hardly any followers, I would be of the mind to go, all right, I'm the whatever, or just tweak it a little bit and call it a day. But if that name has been taken and well established, then you have a whole nother road to go down.
Yeah, the hardest one is the URL. Like you can name yourself anything, but it's the URL that I think makes it harder, and that's the thing to truly claim. Yeah. And as soon as you can, like once you pick one, like roll with it.
So this question from Kenny Jeffrey, I assume your legal name isn't Kenny Jeffrey Animation, asking, should I, so my channel name is my name, should I change that? And then going back to the poll where we did ask Dan, I am 86% say a YouTube channel, but only 14% say they are a brand. And the example I could think of here is Catherine Manning, who's another YouTube educator who used to be called The Content Bug, but then changed the channel to her name. So I just love your thoughts on this idea of, I guess, channel brand name versus your own personal brand or persona. Because sometimes I think of like PewDiePie and Mr. Beast, not necessarily as channel names, but more personas. So there's a slight difference there as well.
I think that's exactly the point. Like if you are a brand and what your brand does is supported by that content, then that name can make sense when it's associated with it. However, if like you're an individual and you're acting as the face of a brand and you're the expert in it, then you see it. So like my channel is called Desiree Martinez. Like that is my name, and all of my handles are Mrs. Desiree Rose because Desiree Martinez is a common name, so I couldn't claim that one. And so I kept it that way because Desiree Martinez brings in business for the Women of YouTube podcast and All in One Social Media and this is Desiree Rose brand and all these other things that are associated with it. So my name in essence has become a brand. But you just have to commit. Like once you commit, it's really hard to change. Catherine was in an interesting position because her content bug, like for her, as the example, she had built a blog that way, but where people started to know her was as a YouTuber and as Catherine. And so that change transition just really made sense for her. And so it's really like, if you look at all of our YouTube educators from the most part, it's Nick Nimmin, it's Dan Courier, it's Roberto Blake, it's Catherine Manning, it's Annie Dubé. Like they go by their names. And then what they do is with the association, because no one's going to remember All on Social Media, because whenever I hop into a video, they see Desiree and I introduce myself as Desiree. And so it's that level of association. However, in the cases of things where it's like if you're a gaming channel, like maybe your gamer tag name is the name of your channel, and that would make total sense. Maybe if you're a brand and like you're like a plumbing business or a car fixing place or whatever it is, the name of that business is going to be associated like with the brand, the channel. So then that would make sense for it to be like vidIQ. vidIQ's channel is vidIQ, not Rob's channel, right? So it's just kind of that like way about looking at it.
I am specking out a video about like how to choose a channel name, and I was wondering if I wasn't associated with vidIQ, I was a YouTube educator, would I be called Rob Wilson as a channel name, or would I have some sort of brand name? Because my previous channel was called the Video Gadgets Journal, and it was a tech channel. So if anybody, not that I'm planning on doing this, but if anybody has any ideas for what my channel name would be if I was an independent YouTube educator, let us know in the comments.
Well, at this point, you're already branded as Rob Wilson. Like that's what
here's the thing. What
so,
if I just called myself a vidIQ as a channel not affiliated with vidIQ? Where would the audience go there? What would happen? Ooh, controversy.
Okay.
I don't think I'd last long legally there, would I?
Right. Okay. Learning technology with Frank asks, do you have a social media management system that you recommend, for example, something like Hootsuite? I have been using Sendable since the start of being a social media marketer. So we're talking over 11 years. I have tested lots of tools, Agora Pulse, Hootsuite, Sprout Social. buffer all of them. And I find that Sendable accomplishes things better for me. It has a book uploading system. It has a really great calendar. I can manage comments in it. It does YouTube as well. I can do blog posts in there. It's very simple to use. And that's my recommendation. It's also super affordable compared to a lot of other places as well. I know Hootsuite just like jacked up their prices like 1,000% or something like that. So definitely team Sendable. They're also they're very storytelling brand. Like that's their focus. So they also have a lot of really great resources around that as well. So that's what I use. Sendable.
Sendable. That's a good tip. I hadn't heard of them before just now.
So
Quietly looking for questions now.
There is this question, but I guess the answer is obvious. If you make a video story on Instagram which allows the use of copyright music on their platform, but then you share it somewhere else, is there a risk of copyright violation? And the short answer is yes, but it depends on what the copyright allowances are on different platforms. Like we know that YouTube in the last 6 months have signed a lot of deals with record labels because of YouTube Shorts. And I guess if you're going to re-upload something natively, then you're going to go through that same process of picking some music from the Shorts audio library as opposed to the Instagram library. So yeah, this would be an example of where you shouldn't necessarily download a video from, so let's say, TikTok, which has certain music allowances, and upload it directly to Shorts and not expect a possible copyright claim or strike. You should always, it goes back to what you were saying originally, Desiree, that uploading natively will mitigate this potential problem.
I also think that, I mean, if you're the risk you run into with using anyone else's content of any kind is like not being able to get the AdSense.
Yep.
That's kind of the only limitation you have.
Yeah. So. I want to answer this question because it kind of feeds into what we've been talking about today. What are your opinions on names that are just words with mixed up letters? And I would say that when it comes to forming a YouTube channel, an online presence of any kind, whether you want to be recognized as a brand or you just want a name that, is going to be attached to you, I think you need that name to be memorable. So if your name is going to be a jumble of letters and words basically that you made up, it needs to be catchy. It needs to still be memorable. I guess I could use the term, it kind of needs to be based in reality a little bit, because if you're just making up words, it's just that much harder to remember who you are. That's why when people make names like Mr. Beast, Mr. and Beast are both words that people use all the time, and it's memorable in that way. It's real words that this person's used to attach to their brand.
And very easy to spell as
yes.
well.
Yes, I hate when people do letters and numbers when they're not supposed to be with theirs. Like, part of being a brand and a business is being able to not only be memorable, but searchable. I am not going to be able to find you if your name is like, if I spelled my name like Desiree, D, the number 3, Z, I, R, like money sign, like that. I can't search for that. So it's a combination, and it's, again, this is more fodder for your video, Rob, but it's one of those things like you have to keep that kind of stuff in mind. In order to be memorable, you also have to be searchable, which means your spelling needs to be super easy.
I'm just going to bring up this one because they're complimenting us. We all look lovely today. Thank you. Are impressions more important than views? And my simple answer to that would be they're codependent. The more views you get, hopefully means that it's positive signals to YouTube, which means that they'll share your content with a wider audience, which leads to more impressions, which should then hopefully lead to more views because you're getting more impressions / free advertising from YouTube. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything to that, or we move on to the next question.
Impressions without clicks, though, can hurt you. If you're making an impression on somebody, the impression basically is your thumbnail, right? Like, let's be real about that. And if your thumbnail isn't engaging or clickable or bright or any of that kind, all of the rules of thumbnails, it can hurt your views, because then you're not getting click-through rates, when you're not getting views, which means that YouTube's going to be like, oh, this video isn't doing well. And if it happens again, YouTube's like, this person doesn't know what they're doing or who they're talking to. So,
well, good one here. Good one here. Let's bring up this. At
I
what
just
point
saw
does
that
it make
one.
sense to add my YouTube channel to LinkedIn while the content is not related to my current profession? Yeah, LinkedIn versus YouTube or any other platform in terms of content.
well, I think I have a question for this, but I don't know if Miwa is there. I would ask the question of like, well, why isn't it your profession? It's a form of a profession. Having interests and hobbies is part of being a person, and it helps you be a well-rounded business person. But honestly, unless it's part of your brand and you're promoting your personal brand on LinkedIn, it doesn't make sense to do it. But yeah, you can share your YouTube videos, but now that LinkedIn has native uploads under 10 minutes, if it's under 10 minutes, I would natively upload it to LinkedIn if you can.
I think you just got to be aware of, your audience. So if you're somebody who is like a marketing professional on LinkedIn and you post like a lot of content about, helping people market themselves or businesses, and then you also have a cooking channel, might be okay to link the cooking channel there. But when you just start posting content that's like, oh, I made a pie today, it's like, well, you're the marketing. I come to you for marketing advice. I have this other person who makes pies, and I'm going to watch them. Thanks.
I already have a pie person. You're my
I have a pie
marketing person. So, but yeah, LinkedIn's like uploading my videos to LinkedIn makes sense. If I was to just be like, all of a sudden I'm like making cat videos, that wouldn't make any sense. So, and this goes into the whole like keeping in mind your audience situation.
Yeah.
So someone had actually asked a question that I don't know if it is Richard McGill. He asked, should I post my YouTube videos on IGTV and Facebook? And I want to answer the question with a resounding yes. You definitely want to, because again, you're already doing all of the work to create that YouTube video. Give it more chance for success. And I was just on a call this morning. We were talking about Instagram, and IGTV, ironically, is the second leading like source for getting new followers and engagement on Instagram right now, behind Reels. And I think it's because a lot of IGT videos, they'll make them like 1 to 2 minutes. And that's why they're getting a little bit more oomph and attention from people. But I think just create a nice vertical thumbnail, upload that bad boy. And again, post it to Facebook as well.
I did try to find that question, but I just couldn't.
It was a ways back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Miwa answered. He said that I am in tech, so completely not related. Unless you did something like what Alex does, where it's like the engineering of cooking. Like if it's like the tech of cooking, yeah, it doesn't make any sense to do it.
So just a reminder for everybody here, thank you for being here, first of all. We are favoring questions today that specifically are on the subject, the theme of today's live stream, which is using social media as a YouTuber. So if you have questions related to that, that's currently what we're kind of looking for. So if you're kind of asking questions and wondering why the heck we're not getting to you, that might be why.
But make sure we answer Fort and Jenton's question about YouTube and TikTok.
Oh, sure.
Don't forget it.
Yeah,
okay. Okay, so should I repost my YouTube shorts on TikTok? Yes. And how do I get those viewers to go to my channel? You want to have your channel to your YouTube channel in your description box, like your About You situation. You also can add the text onto your video to do it. You can put the link into your description. I find it very interesting that you said YouTube Shorts to TikTok, because usually it's TikTok to YouTube Shorts. So I'm loving that. I also tell you, you should upload your YouTube Shorts to Instagram Reels as well and do the exact same thing.
I have a question / discussion point here about pushing audiences from one platform to another. And I don't know if this is a confirmed, I guess, strategy that I'm going to start to tell people right now. I'm still thinking about this. I'm wondering if it's a bad idea to tell people to go to my YouTube channel or go to my TikTok channel from another platform to watch my videos, in the sense that in terms of a recommendation system on a certain platform, understanding your content and who it should be for viewers, should you let the platform do that job rather than directly telling people to go from one place to another? And the reason I asked that is because I think we were auditing a channel yesterday. Dan, you'll remember this. I think it was a channel about stories of people in Scotland and landscapes in Scotland.
Oh, right.
And every single video was getting between 1,000 and 1,500 views, like all across the board. But the videos had very little engagement in terms of likes and comments. So you knew that the traffic was coming externally. And we could see from the shared perspective that a lot of views were coming from Facebook, and they were coming from, I think, some Reddit groups as well, which seems to suggest that people were watching their content almost perhaps even natively. Not natively, but like they were watching it maybe through an embedded video on Reddit or on YouTube, which meant that YouTube perhaps wasn't getting that audience into their platform, and so it didn't have as much I guess data or signals which would help promote their content natively on YouTube. I've said a lot there, but Desiree, do you have any clue where I'm coming from this point of view?
Okay, I'm going to answer the question by removing what you just talked about with engagement, because that's a different question to answer. So first of all, I never rely on a third-party tool to promote my stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is why my number one objective in all of my marketing is to get people onto my email list. And then I can tell my people when I do something, and then they can go watch my videos and when to do stuff. Okay. So that's my first rule. So if I'm going to use TikTok to drive traffic to YouTube, do it. If you can use YouTube to drive traffic to TikTok, do it. And here's my reason for this very specifically. The kind of content, for the most part, that you are creating on YouTube is vastly different than the kind of content you should be creating on TikTok. So you need to be providing unique experiences for the followers, especially if you have followers in both places. So if I'm going to give people a reason to go follow me on TikTok, it's going to be for a reason like, like go over there for like my micro tips, or like me talking about these specific things, or for my RV like living hacks or whatever. But my long form videos are like, these are my gaming experiences, my tutorials about stuff, my vlogs, right? So it's the difference between long form content and short form content. And you have to be mindful of creating both kinds of content for both places to support each other. There are so many great ways to explode on vidIQ, on TikTok with short form content related to what you do. Just like, and then you can drive the traffic back to your YouTube channel where people can consume more of your content in a long form way. Because as a brand, as a business, it's important to have some of those vanity metrics to share to sponsors. Like, okay, I have this many followers and views on these two platforms, versus being able to say, well, I have just followers and views on this platform, right? So by having the two, let them support each other, but don't run into a trap of only sharing the same content on both, because then it doesn't really help you in the same way that you might think it does.
The reason I'm starting to ask this of everyone really is because I'm starting to hear more and more creators on YouTube who've had experience in the past saying that I don't want anybody from channel A to know what I'm doing on channel B, because that would be the completely wrong audience. I want it to be, this channel to be discovered organically, so that YouTube knows exactly that it's for viewer XYZ as opposed to viewer ABC, and that's why I've got two channels. So yeah, I'm not really offering any sort of suggestions or opinions at the moment. I'm intrigued to know other people's opinions on this.
That's a case of multi different branding. Like that's two different businesses. Like we have a mutual friend who has a YouTube educator, and now he also has like a crypto channel. He wants neither of those audiences to like cross over to each other. And so he doesn't talk about them on separate ones, even though with his YouTube channel, he uses it as a case study, right? So just kind of one of those things that like keeping those separate is there, and that's why having a personal brand and then having different brand businesses is beneficial. So if like, again, you know, Rob, you have the vidIQ channel and then you have like a geek channel, while there will be overlap, like it's possible for people to want YouTube education and be nerds at the same time, the direct promotion of it can definitely hurt like the audiences. But when we're talking about YouTube and TikTok, and I would even say YouTube and Clubhouse at this point too, because a lot of people talk about Clubhouse as a way to grow their YouTube channel. You really have to make sure that you're giving unique experiences on the platforms but using the channels to support each other. One should be an extension. YouTube is where you build a long-term relationship with somebody, and like TikTok and Reels and stuff like that is where they get the little micro bursts of you, and like where and how they can support you in a different medium, in a short form way.
I think a few people have asked a similar question to this now. There seems to be assumption from some creators that they need to spend money to promote their channel, or at least how much should I spend when I'm first starting out my channel to get discovered? My answer would certainly be let your channel grow organically, unless you're selling a product or a service and you have very much providing a solution to a problem. Let YouTube recommendation system find the right audience, but alternative viewpoints welcomed.
If you are not growing your channel, you are not making the right kind of content. And
it's not a money problem then. It's a
content problem. And even then, when you spend money on stuff, like if you spend money to get views or whatever, it could be the wrong audience. It could be the wrong people. That one video could help that audience, and your next video might not, which will in turn hurt your channel as well. So it's really annoying. I hated waiting for my channel. It took me 1.5 years to get to 1,000 subscribers. And it took me an extra month after that to hit monetization. So I understand. And I was doing 3 videos a week. I did a podcast and 2 videos. Like, I get the struggle of it, and depending on what your niche is and stuff, but you have to really understand, you have to make a whole lot of the same topic of content and get really clear about who you're talking to so that YouTube knows who you're talking to. Because that's also important for advertising, right? Like, in order for advertising to work, you have to know very specifically who you want to talk to, so that you're not wasting your dollars on talking to the wrong audience.
It could be an interesting exercise to go through without actually spending your money, to go through the process of taking a video you made and then go through YouTube's own tools that are like, oh, you want to make this video an ad? Cool. Who are we targeting it to? And it asks you a billion questions about where's this video going? Or at least this is something I looked at once. I don't know if it's changed now, but if you can't answer those questions, that might be a good indicator of like, you need to figure that out for yourself. I would never take a video though and turn it into an ad if it's just a garden variety YouTube video. If you're a brand with a product, as we said, of course. If you have money to throw around right now though, you should use that money in different ways. You can educate yourself on, using courses and things on becoming a better YouTuber, better video editor, better creating thumbnails. You can, if you just can't be bothered to do one of those things like edit or create thumbnails, as we mentioned before, you could hire a video editor. You can hire a thumbnail designer. If you've got money sitting there and you're like, I want to invest this in my channel, I need, then farm out some work that you're just not going to want to do, whether you're not good at it or you don't have time to do it.
1,000%. I've had an editor since day one on my YouTube channel. I knew it was important for my business. And then if I didn't do it, it was going to not happen. So if you're going to spend money, spend it on ways to make your stuff better.
Interesting idea that though, Dan, using Google ads to try and
that's what I meant. Yeah. Not YouTube,
create a target audience. Like if you're not sure who your target audience is, then maybe something like Google ads may help you start thinking about what questions you need to answer, whether it be like demographics or like category. Even if you like maybe answer 5 or 6 questions from a tool such as that, it may help you start to create what's called an avatar, your ideal person. This is Stephen, who's 24 and he's just started his YouTube channel and is a gamer, and he wants to ultimately be the leader in Fortnite space for how to improve your frames per second. I mean, I'm going through a whole list here, but creating an ideal avatar is something that's recommended by Derek Leaves actually quite a lot in his YouTube formula book, which I'm sure I tout at least once per live stream as a very good book to read.
But that's another thing. If you have money to spend, you could purchase if you're looking to educate yourself. Of course, vidIQ and our suite of tools, we would like to think can be very helpful to get you growing. Here you go, YouTube for me.
That's the one I'll keep.
Someone had hold on. I got a different question I need to answer. I was scrolling back through the comments where someone had said, "I hope that I answered this question." It was, "What is your best bit?" It was from Robin Han, HAHN.
Okay.
What is your best bit of advice for using social media platforms to up watch hours specifically? It's not a bad plan, as long as it's the people you're sharing it to, first of all, are the right people for your channel. That way the other YouTube things can step into place, right? So if I want to make sure that if I'm sharing my videos someplace specifically, whether it's Twitter or Reddit or something, that it's going to be to the people that would want to watch my video, and that if like I showed up in the suggestions or the homepage, that they would click on that video as well. But I think just like sharing for sharing's sake, with the like, watch my videos, give me my watch time, I don't think that is the right way to do it. So
been looking for questions here. Let's see. We always have to have that excuse as to why we all got very quiet all of a sudden.
Yeah, well, it's like so yeah, but yeah, so that's what is your best piece of advice for using social platforms, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, to up your watch hours specifically? So, and I know that watch hours is a big deal for different things, like trying to get to monetization, like the 1,000 hours and the 4,000 hours and 1,000 subscribers. It's a big deal, and I understand that's where I was just as obsessed about it as everybody else was. Especially because I started my channel like right before they implemented the rule, so it really sucked. But yeah, so just make sure you're doing it to the right audience. It's the same thing like why sub for sub doesn't work and all that kind of stuff, because it's never the right audience. So make sure it's the right audience that's going to watch your videos. So go ahead.
I wanted to grab this one because I think there are. This is something I actually wanted to ask at the top of the stream, and I just forgot. But I feel like a lot of people may feel this way, especially if you're just starting out. Like, why bother? And I think maybe we could speak to that for a minute.
It is a good question. Like, why bother? Because you don't have to. And I can say this with the utmost confidence. I know a lot of YouTubers who are all in on YouTube and do very little in other places. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that the benefit of social media goes into what you do and how you find other people. If you are a brand or a personal brand, if there's more that you want to share beyond what's in your videos. So my best example for this is going to be Brian G. Johnson. So Brian G. Johnson is a YouTube educator, and he is just 1,000% focused on YouTube. That's all he focuses on. And he also has a really great Facebook community where he will, because he has a book and it's a kind of an extension of his book and his channel, and he answers questions and people go in there looking for advice and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's all he does, is he focuses on that thing, and that's made him massive amounts of success. He's been able to make great income with affiliate marketing, sponsorships. He speaks at really highly coveted events. He's done a great job. He doesn't focus on the other social networks because he's all in on YouTube. I always caveat this, though, with the question is, what happens if YouTube goes away? What happens if YouTube makes a really big change that could affect your channel? What happens if there's an algorithm change, or you're one of the few people that gets struck by YouTube lightning and something terrible happens to your channel, or it just disappears or falls off the map? I am never an advocate. And I say the same thing about Instagram and Facebook. Like, why don't I just focus on growing my Instagram account rather than doing this whole YouTube thing? I think it's really matter. I don't think you're wrong. I think you should create and develop great content for YouTube. But once you've done that, and I think we said this earlier, once you systemize it and you're confident with where you're at, then you can branch off into the next social platform, the next place to go, so that you can see that growth and increase what's going on there, right? So it gives you another place to promote, another place to share, another place to be an extension of who you are and what you have going on. Like I talk about social media and content marketing. It's a lot of tutorials on how to do things. But if you follow me on Instagram, I'm going to talk about myself a bit more, and you build my relationship with you there. We're going to talk about like my family and my husband and his PTSD and my kids and moving and struggles I'm having and victories I'm having and things that are going on in my life. And so like that relationship building is what I use social media for. And so you're not wrong to just develop really good content for YouTube. And it's a perfectly valid, okay thing to do. But social media is like the next step, the next layer in your cake.
Do you think branching out into other social platforms sometimes requires a bit of scaling up as from you as a person / business? For example, vidIQ is very much, or was very much, a YouTube channel, and I used to try and do the Twitter stuff and the Instagram stuff, but I just was never very good at it. I always felt as if I was diluting my skill set to something that I just didn't understand unless I didn't go in 100%, which I think is what many people kind of have that attitude. So in order to maybe do that, you need to, I guess, relinquish a little bit of control, and that's why we have Dan Hitch. Hi Dan, thank you for moderating as always. Who's now the chief operator, I guess, of Twitter and Instagram and such. Or maybe you need people who can look after other parts of your, I guess, brand and business, so to speak. So it allows you to focus on just the content wherever that may be.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that's important to remember as creators is think of it yourself. Where do you spend your time when you're on your phone? Are you literally just on YouTube and that's where you stay all day, all the time? Or do you maybe go check out Reddit? Or do you maybe go check out Twitter? Or go on Instagram or see what's on Facebook? Your audience spends time in multiple places. And I think it's advantageous for you to also consider spending time in other places so that you could possibly get in front of somebody that doesn't know about you, that wants what you have to offer and the value you have to give. So like, that's how I choose to think about it. And I'm coming from a reverse where I did not get started on YouTube. Like I said, I've been on social media as a profession since 2009. I've been on social media since like 2003 with MySpace. Like it's been a long journey for my social journey because I was, in college and much younger than I am now when I all started. So like my perspective on it is in reverse. I see the business and professional benefits of using social media to get away from just using YouTube. I also would never want to rely solely on one thing as the way I make my money, ever. Like even now as a brand and a business, my revenue streams include my agency, my sponsorships, my YouTube ads, my affiliate money, my book sales, my consulting, and there's a lot of other options available that I'm looking into, like syndication, creating a new show. There's lots of different opportunities. You never want to rely on one medium or stream for money, and you shouldn't rely on one medium of stream as the place that you create in, because you never know what's going to happen.
I guess this is because of the concept of you are not an employee of a place, so that's your source of income, that employer. You are your own business, so to speak, and so to diversify is a way to protect yourself from, I guess, the decisions of one social media platform, be it YouTube, Instagram, or wherever, who flicks a switch and something changes.
If I had to pick today, like if I was a new YouTuber today with less than 1,000 subscribers, the social network I would dive into would be TikTok, because it's already a form of video creating. It has so much opportunity for getting you attention and growth. Allows for you to test and challenge your creative chops. And I can also use those TikToks as shorts on my YouTube channel, especially because I would hope that what you're talking about on your TikTok is related to what you do with your YouTube channel. Like that's what I would do. because I think that was where it makes sense to have growth.
I pulled up this question, but I think maybe we approached it at a different angle. So, what's the best social media place to drive traffic to your YouTube channel? I would say that it really depends on who your audience is, where they live, because you know, if your channels make crafts and fun, TikTok might actually be a good place for you if you can do like high speed like crafting of something. I could see that being kind of cool. Pinterest might be cool. Certain places might not work as well. But I wanted to ask, and I'm genuinely asking here, is this the right mentality to go to go into it with? Like, I'm going to get into a social media platform just specifically to get views on my YouTube channel, or is it better to, like we've been talking about, use it as another place that you want to grow? So you can collectively, I have 1,000 followers on YouTube, and I have 2,000 followers on Pinterest, and I have 300 followers on Instagram. Like, to me, that sounds, especially if you're trying to build a presence online, a brand, that sounds like what I would want to look at it. Like, that's the direction I want to tackle it. But I'm just posing the question to the panel.
I think it goes back to what we talked about kind of earlier, which is you have to know what your objective for being on the platform is. Yeah. Is your objective to be there? Business, brand development, growth, vanity, watch time, like what is it you're trying to do with these other places? The first thing we have to do before we do anything else, and before we use other tools to grow, we have to understand our audience and what we're creating and who we're talking to. And without knowing that, you're not going to know what social network to go to, and you're not going to know what you should be doing there to help it get better. So the best social media to drive traffic to your YouTube channel is going to be based on what you do on your channel and who you talk to and where they spend time. I know my demographic spends time on Facebook and Instagram. In addition to YouTube. If you're a gaming channel, I 1000% think you need to be on TikTok and Twitch probably as well. You know, I think that if you are doing anything DIY related, you really need to be on Reels and Instagram and Pinterest. I think that if you are a personal brand who is just developing what you're doing, you want to use a platform that you like that has a great stories feature, whether that is LinkedIn or Instagram. That way you can have those personal connections with people to do things like Sean Cannell. Sean Cannell has been crushing it with stories. You know, he has this whole Think Media system down and video influencers, and he's got his book and all that kind of stuff. But how he is in his stories is just like an extension of that. Like, he's so business and official and helpful in his videos. You dive into his stories and you get to see who he is as a person and an individual. It makes you just like him more, which makes you want to watch more of his content and trust him and believe him. So that's like the objective in social. It's to humanize you and build a way to connect and have relationships with your followers.
I was going to offer the opinion of, in terms of what's the best social media place to drive traffic to our YouTube content, my answer would be YouTube. Put simply, in the sense that instead of spending
YouTube isn't a social network, though.
Instead of spending time trying to create content on Instagram or wherever that you want to drive to YouTube, I think that time would be better spent on optimizing the thumbnail in a better way or a better title for the audience that's already on the platform. So maybe I'm interpreting the question in a completely different way.
Mm-hmm. By the way, based on what I said, Let's Find Fun says Rob is the reason I love vidIQ. So point proven.
Oh. Can I do a heart shape with these gloves? Just before the next question, I'm just astonished by this poll, because I asked people, have they ever spent money on promoting yourself on social platforms? And 27% of people have actually spent money on promoting themselves, which I find really surprising. I thought it would be much lower, given what I think our audience is people who aren't yet monetized, so don't necessarily have the funds to.
Well, remember, promoting yourself isn't like, look at me, go follow me on YouTube. Promoting me is, hey, I'm Desiree, and I help you grow your business better social media marketing. And I have this awesome challenge I'm doing that you should try out, and it's $27 to do it. Like that's like I have that ad running, so like that's a form of promoting yourself. Again, this goes into the question, are you a brand or are you a YouTuber? And I think one leads to the other, but I think if you go into it being a brand, it's going to set you up for much better success.
So
let's answer. Do you want to say something or want to answer the question?
I was just going to say, I pulled up this question. I've seen it a couple times. So as a new channel, about 2 months old, small niche, is it worth it to share my videos on Reddit to get more exposure, but have a lower retention rate, or would it just hurt in the long run? So I think what they're saying is that they have a low retention rate despite posting on Reddit. But I just wanted to tackle this from the perspective of this idea that someone would try to use Reddit or another service just to, we've kind of talked about it already without mentioning Reddit, I'm just going to put my videos out there and get everyone's general thoughts on it. For me, I think that if you are posting your videos on Reddit and you're noticing the retention is poor, and maybe that's where you're getting the majority of your views, that should just be your signal right there, regardless. It has nothing to do with where it was posted at that point. If your retention on your video is low, then you need to work on improving your content so people don't click off of it, regardless of where they came from. But any other thoughts?
No, that's it. You're right. Don't do that.
Don't do that. better.
I don't like Reddit. I don't. I get it. I like reading the things people say around focused content that's with Reddit, like answers and stuff, and I get answers. But as far as just like being a business owner, a person, like I'm like, hey, this subreddit that is literally about this up. I have this video I made that helps, and they're like, it's like basically burn me at the stake because they're like self-promotion, and I'm like. I'm literally here to solve a problem for people up in here. I'm sorry. So I think that Reddit is great and it has the right reasons. I am not a fan for what I do because Reddit brings out the worst in people, in my opinion.
I tend to avoid it from a content creator perspective. I think it's great for inspiration. I think especially if you're a gaming channel, you should be joining these subreddits for that game. Or if you're a baking channel, join subreddits for your niche, whatever it is on YouTube, and look at the things that everybody in there is talking about. Because I've gotten so many content ideas from just being a part of subreddits and lurking in there without even ever participating. Gotten so many ideas just from people talking about the subject that I'm making content around.
Sure.
All right.
Also, 2 months is you're still new. Don't worry, you'll get there.
Absolutely. Thank you all for your questions. We're now hard at work looking for more here. Still looking for questions related to the topic of the day, which is social media and using it alongside your YouTube channel.
Chris Kowalski asked, you said IGTV is good to share videos as well. So should I share the same video on Facebook, YouTube, and IGT? Of course, crafted towards those platforms, remove, subscribe, etc. Yes, you understand, Chris. That's how it works. There is something to be said with IGTV about vertical. I have seen people do this really cool thing, and it's like my favorite Instagram editing thing. It's where you start vertical, and then probably like 10, 15 seconds in, a little prompt comes up with an arrow that says rotating in like 3, 2, 1, and then it's a vertical. So it's like where you tell people rotate your phone to watch this video, right? I love that personally, but that's just like a personal preference, and it's something I encourage people to do. But yes, remove, subscribe, all that stuff. There's a fellow YouTube educator I love. Her name is Trina Little. What a lot of us do at the end of our YouTube videos is we tell people like specific calls to action, like go get my guide, or hey, watch this video here, or hey, subscribe if you love this, or comment below. What she does is she records 3 separate endings to her videos. One for YouTube, one for Instagram, and one for Facebook. And within those 3, and then she edits them appropriately for the platform. So it's like that little bit of extra work to make sure that your content is very tailored to the platform specifically. But yes, overall, you can just upload the same video. You don't even have to edit if you don't want to. What's important is to upload natively versus telling people to leave that social network, because the social networks are special butterflies and you don't want to talk to other people.
Found one here from Fleming Shane, who asked tips for not collecting a super niched audience who literally follow you passionately because of one game you were initially niched at, and don't like you expanding to other games. So I think here, let's just imagine, Desiree, that you have this client who is getting quite a lot of traffic, presumably through search for a video topic, which probably means that right now they're maybe classed as a YouTube channel, but they want to turn themselves into a personal brand, which allows them to take their audience on different journeys to different topics. How might you approach such a quandary?
First and foremost, I feel your pain 1000%, because this happens in every vertical and with every creator. Something will pop and then you got to lean into it, and then everyone knows you for that thing. You're like, but I'm a person, not a thing, right? And it's so frustrating. However, without knowing what else you have going on, Flaming Shane, if you are a brand or if you are a YouTuber, my advice to you is going to be keep making those videos you hate. But you have to start adding in these other ones to let the algorithm give you a chance to present those other games to the system. So Daryl Leaves talks about this. It's a 21-day cycle. So he says you should be making videos within a very specific keyword that you know is working really well for you. And you make videos based on your schedule, whether it's twice a week or 3 times a week or even once a week. And you have to watch your analytics in 21-day cycles. And so the 21-day cycle allows for YouTube to kind of reset your algorithm to know like how things are going for you or not going for you. So what you want to do within that 21 days is let's say you do 2 videos a week. One of those 6 videos in 21 days is 3 weeks times 2, right? 6 videos. One of those videos should be something new to try it out and see how the audience likes it, and slowly kind of train the YouTube algorithm and your audience to learn something new about you. If you're as a YouTuber, as well as a business owner, you have to remember that this is where I talk about you should create a list and get people onto it so that you can talk to them other ways, even as a gaming channel. Build an email list. You know why? Because then you can make a new video and send it to your audience. And when you get into a sponsorship position, you can say, hey, sponsor, not only do I have these views and subscribers, but look at how big my email is. And I can send emails to my audience promoting your product with a video that we create together. I digress. But that's how I would encourage you to go about it. I've been slowly and meticulously getting out of how-to videos and tutorials. I got really stuck doing live streaming content for a really long time. I got really stuck in the Facebook niche, especially Facebook Marketplace. And Facebook Marketplace has nothing to do with my business. Like I don't help people sell things on Facebook Marketplace, right? So it can be hard. So from a YouTuber perspective, lean into the keywords that are working for you and do the slow introduction and the slow roll of the new content you want to create and to add that variety. And just make sure you have this business piece attached to it. That way, when you are creating the content around this thing that you're sick of creating, you have an audience that you can send your new stuff to and do that way they come back and watch it.
Found another good one here from DeWitt 3D Canada. Oh, sorry, Dan.
It's okay.
Do yours first.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on direct messaging individuals who are in your niche on Instagram to check out your channel? I guess that'd be a form of cold calling. I was just going to tackle this one quickly unless there's more to know here, Desiree, but I would say don't, honestly. Yeah. I don't think anybody likes that. Would you like that is my question to you if somebody was in your DMs knocking on your door?
At least 5 times a day, I have a request to connect on my Instagram account, and it's usually for bullshit brand shit. So it's like, I don't want to talk about your product, give you a free t-shirt and you wear it in a gram post, or, go watch my channel, I'll watch your channel, any of that. It's all pointless. It's just as bad as sub for sub. you should direct message somebody that you're building a relationship with on social and let them know if like they ask you a question or they say something in your comments, you should let them know, hey, I have a video on YouTube that will answer this question for you. Here it is. Like that's how you get them into it, but never cold DM someone Instagram. It also gets you blocked and reported, which no.
All right.
So this one was about products versus, I guess, person brand again. Is it better to promote the product or the person on other social media platforms? Thanks. And I think you alluded to this a little bit, Desiree, when we were talking about Sean Cannell and how he's so well known as Sean Cannell. But guess what? He has a hell of a lot of services and courses that he sells under the umbrella of himself and the Think Media team.
Mm-hmm. I actually have a really good example of this. So I did a podcast interview a few months ago. It's with Chantel Hills, and her channel is Fiberific. And what she does is she talks about she shows like patterns and like how to knit and crochet things, but her business is selling yarn. Right. So it's like she's Chantel Hills and she's like the yarn queen and the stitching sketch, like all of whatever this is, the needling of things. And she does a great job because her business is all about selling yarn. She like custom dyes yarn and like weaves in all this kind of stuff. And so when her YouTube channel is not massive, like it's 5,000 subscribers. She just hit it. She does a booty load of like 2-hour live streams and gets super chats and stuff. But she's built this like raving community. So when she's brought in through her tutorials and talking about how to do things related to knitting and crocheting and stuff. And because she's done that, she is able to sell her product. So she is known as someone who solves a problem and teaches you how to do something with yarn. And her product is a solution or a byproduct of that option, right? So if you are a person, I would be the person, and what I would talk about would be related to my product to help people like with what you're doing, no matter what it is. So you do 3D printing. Maybe what you do is like a run of a specific 3D print or something, or you sell the CAD files so people can print their own stuff or whatever, but you're the expert that's talking about 3D printing and how people would use it and what they're going to do there. And then like you could be someone that gives them ideas or shows them how to do something. You have a course or whatever it may be can come from that. And that again is why having an email list is so helpful, because when you have any product, you can send it to your viewers.
And of course, make sure to check out the Women of YouTube podcast. It's a nice little segue to promote the podcast.
New episodes every Wednesday. It's a new episode out today, I think.
That's today.
That is today. So this should be up. I think I talked with Hawa. She is, and we talked about Clubhouse because that's the bee's knees right now.
I think both Hawa and JJ will be on our channel audit stream coming up here in a few weeks. I got to.
And JJ is next week. So we talk. And if you are ready for Pinterest, JJ's whole YouTube channel is about Pinterest. I talked to her about it, and her YouTube channel is fantastic and can help you with a lot of that stuff if you're interested in figuring it out.
So I've been looking at questions during our last 5 minutes here. I'm noticing a lot of folks just kind of copying and pasting their question over and over again. They haven't been answered. Okay. Just for those of you copy and pasters, we are specifically looking for questions today related to the topic at hand. But perhaps you can join us in a future Q&A or check out our Discord. There's a lot of awesome folks in there who can give some really good advice if you feel like your question is not being addressed today. We got about 30 minutes left in our Q&A session today. And Sarah is asking, any suggestions on how to recover when one of the social media sites you were using implodes and is no longer viable? I wonder which one they're talking about.
I am very curious about this too. Maybe it was like Periscope or something. But I would say, so long, farewell, move on. Like, there's nothing you can do. This is why I say a third-party tool, putting all your eggs in that basket is going to hurt you. So you got to make sure that you're diversifying your options for promotion and sharing. Yeah. That's basically it there.
I guess my question back to Sarah is which social media platform would this be in question? Because I gotta wonder if it's kind of like that. We've seen it happen on YouTube even where a big change is made and a large portion of the audience is really against it. So in their minds, they're like, this place is no longer viable for me. I'm moving on.
Okay. She answered it. She said, I was posting on Ravelry, which is a social media site for knitter crochet people. But now it's a seizure migraine risk because of a botched
Oh no.
My word.
Like I said, so this is a situation where it's like, okay, honestly, I've never heard of this before because I'm not in this vertical. But that kind of would tell me, like, if I am a hobbyist who just wants to learn more about knitting and crochet, like going to Ravelry is going to be like a secondary set. I'm going to first find you, Sarah, on TikTok, Reels, YouTube, Pinterest, and then maybe you'll mention it and then I'll go check it out, right? So use the big ones first and use the right hashtags and trendy things and stuff like that, and then go to the next thing. But yeah, this is again YouTube, Pinterest, diversify.
I would say that
I need to log in to get full access to it.
If you're on one of these sites and they make a change like this that you really don't like, you may just also want to share your feedback with them too, because you'd be surprised at how they, companies like this pay attention to their audience. And if a lot of people are coming up with that feedback of like, hey, this change you made, awful, I'm leaving. They'll probably, rethink it. Even some of the biggest platforms out there have made changes and had to walk them back after outcry. So for now, though, since the site is still up, definitely use it to let your audience know where you're going to be next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm here, but I'm more over here. So let's see what else we got here.
Indeed.
You guys are so active. Your chats are great. So, and I'm happy to throw in YouTube questions if we need to as well.
If everyone wants us to, we can certainly do that.
Okay, then Desiree, let's tackle this one for you. I'm a Roblox gaming channel. Should I stick to
Yes, you should.
There we go. That's the answer.
Ding, ding, ding. Let's see.
Make a whole new channel if you're going to do a different game.
Thank you for saying that. I am becoming a huge advocate for new channels. I really, really am.
YouTube does not want you to be multiple things. Like that's one of the things I can be very confident in. YouTube, if YouTube had its way, I would be a StreamYard channel. Like that's what I was really into that with COVID, and it's great. I love StreamYard. Like we're live streaming with StreamYard. Like StreamYard is my favorite, but I'm also, my business doesn't have a lot to do with StreamYard, and so it's sort of like I had to be very intentional with making sure I was strategic, but also made sure that the other stuff would work. And it's been like I said, it's been a slow migration, but now my leading keywords have to do with Instagram growth and Facebook marketing and content stuff. So that's what I needed to do. But YouTube doesn't want you to be lots of things. YouTube wants to know exactly who you are, who to put you in front of so they can advertise the crap out of your channel in the right way. And the more specific you are, the better your ads will be. Like my click-through rate, my cost per click on my ads, because they know Desiree's channel talks to business owners because she straight up says it. I'm here to help you grow your business. They know. So my ad clicks are like $27 to $30 a piece. Like I get to pay my mortgage with my AdSense at 25,000 subscribers. That is awesome. But it's like I know exactly who I talk to. So the more you know exactly who you talk to, the better YouTube can be for you.
That this really is when we say approach your YouTube as a business, we're not saying you need to, as a new YouTuber, start an LLC. Although as you grow, I certainly encourage that. Yes. But you should be thinking about this from a business perspective. So if you're like, I want to be a whole bunch of things on YouTube, you gotta keep everything Desiree just said in mind. And if you have something you desperately want to try, you have this idea, this game, this thing you want to do, it's free. There's no harm in starting a new channel. You can even nest it underneath your current channel. So it's one email address with multiple channels on it. It's super, super easy to do. Switching between multiple channels is easy. And you're not having to rebuild your audience. You're just simply building a second audience. And you
Mhm.
take everything you learn from the first channel, apply it to the new channel, you might find yourself growing a lot faster. I told the story on my Twitter. My first YouTube channel took me 6 years to get my first 10,000 subscribers. It took me 6 months on my second channel. So
You'll never you'll never be a new YouTuber, because once you've started, right, you always have a new one that you'll be doing. And so it's just one of those things that's important.
I think we've kind of got the opposite end of the problem here, where somebody has, I think, had a viral moment with a video that they've uploaded to their channel, but that's not the type of content that they create.
Delete it.
What happens next?
Delete it and move on. Focus on the
You think they should delete it completely?
Yeah. It's that you don't breastfeed. You don't want people coming to your channel because you do breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Like, if that's not what you do, I don't know what Pookie Mama does, but
if the content is to be, catered towards new mothers, there's maybe other things you could do that would interest that audience. But if that's not what you want to do, then you may want to unlist that video. So it stops bringing in new audience members who think, I'm going to subscribe, I want to learn more. Oh, the channel's not about this. Never mind.
Yeah. Make sure the content. I'm a big believer in purging content off of your YouTube channel. Okay, and this might be controversial from a YouTube perspective, and I know people have feelings about this. However, I go through my channel on a quarterly basis, and videos that are no longer performing, I delete from my channel. Because what happens if YouTube suggests that video and it's just continuing to get clicked, no one's clicking on it anymore? That's hurting my channel, because it's just dead weight. It was great at the time. It worked well, it did its job. But if it's not working for you anymore, you need to remove your dead weight.
Interesting.
I'm just looking at a channel. I'm just looking at a channel in the background, but I can't really share the channel because there's breastfeeding images on there.
Yeah.
And some of the videos that they published in the last couple of weeks,
yeah,
they get hundreds of thousands of views for some of these. So they're posting that content right now, in the last month, but ultimately their channel's not going to be about that. I'm confused and lost, I guess, as a viewer as to what's coming next on the channel.
I think it's because if you go back farther on her channel, you can see, I think that she's taking the advice, right? She's taking the advice, which is a breastfeeding popped, so I'm going to make more of it. Yeah. I think that what you have to just make sure that you do is have a natural progression of the breastfeeding journey, and take your existing audience with you on that journey. And then people can join in and watch the backlog of videos. I breastfed both of my kids, so I'm very familiar with what this journey is like. So you can go, and you can still throw in stuff along the way. This is a great breastfeeding recipe I used to do. What were the 3 things I drank all the time that helped me produce more milk? That's the kind of stuff that you can kind of throw in there to help with the transition. But rather than focusing on what's worked and thinking your channel is just about that, make sure that you your journey that you're going through, you take your audience with you. And she said in her comments, there's some old home videos. Yeah. So you have to define what your audience is by feeding into that keyword, which is fine. Do it. That's the best way to grow a YouTube channel. You just have to take your audience on the journey. This is where the storytelling has to come into place. So if you don't breastfeed anymore, or you can have the old videos of how you transitioned from breastfeeding to solid foods. And then if you want to talk about how breastfeeding affected your body, or, how it's helped your kids' health or whatever, then you can talk about that. But you have to take the viewer on a journey.
I'm curious to know what was the end goal of the creator if they were uploading these videos that they didn't want their channel to necessarily be about, and they were older videos, so they might struggle to do follow-up content, because you've kind of got exactly what you wanted from the YouTube recommendation system in a lot of audience and views. Mm-hmm. But it sounds like you didn't have a plan, the next step in that. I think this is the problem, I think, with creators who have that. I'm not necessarily saying this was the goal of a creator, but the idea of, I want a viral video. And unfortunately for most creators, even if they do have a viral video, they don't know what to do with it next with that audience. And so it just remains that moment in time, a viral video, because the creator wasn't prepared enough or just didn't have the skills, knowledge, or wisdom to know where to go next with their content. And I think that's a really good example of how sometimes going viral can have a long-term detrimental effect on your channel as a whole.
Mm-hmm. But also, like, awesome job getting
at the same time,
I'm sure it's like, this is fantastic. Like, you've done a good job. Now it's like, okay, you have to decide what's next. And I think my advice to you as a mom and a breastfeeding mom and stuff is, I think you should highlight and talk about the transition. Especially if like you're posting old videos, you probably have more old videos that you could post about like different things that you did and how it was. Maybe you pull out your phone and do quick, shorter vertical videos about like how you feel or what it did to your emotions postpartum, like anything that you went through. I would continue the journey. Like, that's my advice as a creator if you want to keep this going.
And perhaps maybe set expectations in that you were getting tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of views on those videos. You may not get as many views as that, but compared to perhaps where you were before you went viral, so to speak, you may have gone from, let's say, 50 views per video to 400 views per video, which should still be seen as significant growth and progress on your channel.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
So grab this one. I can tackle it real quick, I think. I started my channel 2 weeks ago, and I was really doing quality content like Hermitcraft. So I'm guessing you're making content similar to the folks in Hermitcraft, which is a big Minecraft like server / group of creators. But I still lack views and subs to any ideas, please. And yes, my idea for you is to not make content modeled after other creators who you're a fan of. Let those creators inspire ideas, certainly, and it's good to, if you're going to be an author of horror novels, it's good to read a lot of horror and get yourself in that mindset. But you don't want to just simply copy what everybody else is doing. I'm going to make sure my quality, my audio sounds just as good, my edits are just as good, because that content is already, that content's being served to the audience who wants it already. So you're kind of entering the space that's already highly competitive, and you're not doing enough to stand out. You're trying to model your content after somebody else. So if you want to get started on YouTube, my suggestion to you, especially in a competitive space like Minecraft, is to, I said this yesterday, use the game as more of a platform, a sandbox, a tool that lets you put on a show of some kind, whether you're showing off a really cool thing that you did in the game, or you're teaching someone something really valuable. Make something really cool that no one can get anywhere else, because it's unique to you. It's something unique that you did with the game. Don't think of it as, I'm going to just sit down, I'm going to play Minecraft, I'm going to record it. Think of it as, what can I bring this community that already has so much? I know that's not a very direct answer. It really does boil down to you and how you're going to approach it. But this is for all the gaming channels out there. Make content that is unique to you as best you can. Don't go all in on an idea that you saw. Like, I saw my favorite YouTuber doing this, I'm going to do that. Anyone wants to jump on that, they can. I'm going back to looking for questions.
It was a Minecraft question, Dan. I just left it to you.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Should I? Wait, our simple story said, should all our photo icons be the same across all platforms? Also, are there any best practices for channel banners?
Oh, thank you.
I think just like it's important to have the same URL tag, it would be to have the same profile picture, the same base description, and the same color schemes and stuff. And then for your channel banner, I mean, there's all the different things that you should do with it. You know, call attention to your buttons, let people know when you upload, make sure it's very clear who should be there and what you're about. And then as far as channel banner, and you can use it as a base channel banner for like Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn as well.
Consistent branding is never a bad thing.
No, it's no, like it needs to be the thing. Like it's just required. Like you have to have the same things across the board so people know who you are and what you're about.
Foxy Titsy, is that how you pronounce the channel name? Is it good to do like please subscribe, etc., like a little segment right after the main big thing in the video? For example, Mark, is that Robo? I think you're maybe saying making something big, but before that he explains it. I think a general conversation about calls to action then. When, well, should you, where should they be, how many should you do, that type of thing.
I mean, I have my own personal thoughts around this.
I think everybody does, so let's hear them all. Go ahead, Desiree.
Okay, so for me, one, it's a matter of testing your audience to see what if they will or won't do what you ask them to do. I did a test at the start of the year or the end of last year where I stopped asking people to subscribe to my channel and my subs tanked. So I added it back in and huzzah, they came back up, right? So it's just one of those kinds of things. But I give them a reason to subscribe, not like, hey, hit the subscribe button below. I tell them, if you're looking to grow your business with better social media and content marketing, take action now and hit the subscribe button below. Like I leave it at that. I also do it after the lead, within the lead in of my video. So like for me, because I know that most people will watch the beginning of my video versus the end of my video. And so I lead in like identify the problem and like how they feel. And I reassure them that we're going to go over this in the video today. I introduce myself. I give the call to action. And the call to actions I usually pair with are not just to subscribe, but also to get on my email list. So, because what I talk about is content marketing, I have a very standard content planning worksheet that I drive traffic to with the majority of my videos if it's not a sponsor. So that's why I do that. So, and then I get into the meat of it. And also it helps now with like, you can have like the chapters now with YouTube, so take the time to do that. So if people want to skip ahead, they like know where to go and what to do. So that is how I give the call to actions with subscribing. There are other people that wait till the end. There are people that will just like flash it up onto the screen. I think that depends on the kind of demo you're talking to. So I solve social media problems for people. So the majority of people that are probably watching my videos are not usually as tech YouTube savvy. People come to my YouTube videos a lot from Google search. So they're there secondary. So if I can tell them to subscribe, they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. But people that are like entertained by YouTube on a regular basis or doing gaming on a regular basis, the strategy might be different. Again, know your audience. It's like the theme of this today. Social media day, know your audience.
There's a question here I've seen repeated 100 times, and I think now we've talked about more general YouTube questions. I'm going to go ahead and use this one as an example. They're not gonna love my answer. I'm just going to say that.
Oh,
now.
This one, Dan. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. This one.
We've heard this so many times, so that's why I'm picking this. I'm so sorry, Magnum something. I'm picking on you right now. Best of luck to you for real, but I'm literally doing everything humanly possible to get more watch time. I start with a hook. I add intense music whenever it's needed. I can barely get a minute of watch time. What do I do? You have videos, you have data. Look at those because I'm willing to bet you are not doing everything humanly possible to get that watch time. That's the thing. What you're probably not doing is analyzing your content and looking at those signals and then judging minute by minute, if you're going through a retention graph in a video, why people dropped off at the moment they dropped off. Maybe that intense music you put at the top of the video is exactly what turned them off. Maybe it was too loud. It could be so many things. Without looking at your videos individually, sitting down one-on-one with you, we can't just answer that.
No, I've got the answer for this guy very specifically. Dude, the first like 25 seconds of your video is just text on a screen to ask people to, like, if you want to shout out, do all of this stuff, and stay till the end. There's just text on screen versus like having a voiceover, and then at like second 15, it's like subscribe. Like, dude, you're not giving people any reason to care about your content. You're not giving them what you're promising. There's no shocking catch at the beginning, like, oh crap, I can't believe I just did that, and then it cuts to like the start of the video. Like, there's nothing in that is happening. So you are in a phase in your YouTube journey where you, like, your first 10, 30, 60 seconds are vital. Like, you've got to give all of the goodness at the beginning and get that attention in there in that way. And then I would also follow it up with your thumbnail's a basic and your titles are not telling me what the video's about. So best of luck.
I'm so glad you looked at the video, because usually we don't do that.
Oh.
I was going to say, everybody, if you just drag the slider on this live stream back 2 minutes and then just watch Desiree's expressions for that's the first 25 seconds of what the average person's experience is of your videos. And I don't want to turn this into a roasting session, but I think what the creator is mistaking here is effort for actual quality, in that when he says, I'm literally doing everything humanly possible, and that while that may be true for your current skill set, to the viewer who doesn't know nor cares how much effort and time you've put into this video, that's a bridge that you'll eventually start to connect as you make more and more content. This is why I and others will recommend that you make 25, 50 videos on YouTube without too much expectation of a great audience watching the content. It's primarily there for you to work out whether or not you enjoy making content, and then you have a good amount of data to then make incremental improvements. As Dan said with watch time, Desiree saying that the thumbnails aren't too great. There's probably data to back that up. And just to go on that theme as well, like, we get this comment so often, and I actually made a video entirely on this comment on Monday about somebody saying, I've tried everything you've suggested, or I've done everything I'm supposed to do, and I'm not getting views. And so I objectively audited the channel and said, well, yeah, you are doing that, true, but your execution isn't there yet. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You're going to try first, you're going to learn second, and then you're going to improve third. And that's ultimately the journey that you're on with everybody else. And that's where you need to exercise a hell of an amount of patience, because a lot of people just get too frustrated too quickly and then give up on what ultimately is their end goal of having success. But it can take usually months, if not years. As Desiree said, it took you 18 months to get 1,000 subscribers before you monetized. But man, like, imagine if you'd given up it after 14 months. You were so close to that goal and you put in so much time and effort, and YouTube was about to reward you, but you decided to give up through frustration. And that's my TED Talk motivational speech for the week.
My answer originally was going to be, you got to try something new. I'm glad Desiree went through an actual video, which is something we don't normally take the time to do. So thank you, Desiree, because that's actually a gift to this creator, and hopefully all the creators watching right now, because you can absolutely apply all of this to your own channels. We say it every week during channel audits too. A lot of people want their channel specifically audited, but if you are just honest with yourself and you pull up your channel alongside the channel audits, or pull it up now alongside everything we've just said, and look at your videos, why are people clicking off this video? And you just need to, it all comes down to being honest with yourself and learning how to analyze that data and then make actionable choices, or make actionable decisions about what you learn.
Yeah. I'd like to answer a question directly asked at me, if that's okay.
Sure.
Boyfish Gaming, they ask, Desiree, what are your top 3 elements to use to immediately hook your audience? Also, thank you. You're welcome. Okay, so you are a gaming channel, so it could be different. My hunch is with a gaming channel, what you're going to want to do is have an oh my God moment that gets them in, that you can leave on a cliffhanger. And then you want to go back and talk about hey guys, Koivish Gaming here. I'm going to take you on this journey. We're doing these things. They're figuring this whatever out, and then go into it in that way. How I though structure my my videos and what I teach my members and stuff is when you're starting out with a video, you want to identify the problem that your viewer has. You want to reinforce it with an example, and you want to describe to them how they probably feel. So like an example might be, again, I talk to business owners. So an example might be, one of the problems of trying to buy a new house is you don't know where to start looking for homes. It seems like everyone around you is buying a home. You don't even know where to start. It's so frustrating and even embarrassing, right? So like that's what I use to get people into it that way. And then I make sure to continue to tell them, what the video is going to do. So like, don't worry, in this video, I'm going to tell you step by step what you need to do before starting on your house hunting journey. Right. And then I go into my introduction. I want to get them onto my email list so that I can continue to talk to them about my realm of genius, my niche, my whatever. And then I go into the meat of my videos. Like it's a little formulaic, I'm sure. And it's always important to ebb and flow. But right now that's what works for me. And I usually have a solid like 50 to 40% retention rate through my videos.
For gaming channels, it will also depend on the type of video you're going to make that day. Like as everything Desiree said, I can see working really well for like a how-to video. Like, are you tired of your cows in Minecraft not breeding fast enough because you're hungry? Here's what we're going to do for you today. If you're trying to make a video where you're entertaining people, who does this really well is Mr. Beast, because he has a lot of those elements there, but he just does it in his own style. And he'll jump into a gaming video. He'll be like, I have 100 players here, and I'm putting them through this obstacle course, and the winner gets $10,000. The intro is short, and you know everything going on in the video before it barely starts. You just clicked on it, and Mr. Beast is shouting at you. Words are flying off the screen, and you're in.
The edits, it's so much editing.
Yes.
Like there are not long shots usually until the end, and there's like a reveal or something.
Right, and yeah, another thing that I see a lot of channels struggle with is that editing too. Is like, well, I want to include everything. I want people to know what's going on, but I got to give people a little credit. You can cut out a lot of stuff and tell a really coherent story. You could take a 40-minute game session and cut it down to 10 minutes, and have it be a lot more entertaining, and people can follow along just as easy.
Mm-hmm. I think we have one more question we can do.
Sure. Yeah. Let's see. Who wants to pick it?
I'm just looking for a question. Here's one. Goose Plays 20. So if I see an old video from 2015 of tips and tricks, should I do an updated version for 2021 for the same game? Absolutely. And you should do it like 400 different ways. Like 10 things not to do for 10 things to do, and then in like September, do a 2022 version, because it leads you into the next year of stuff.
I think Rob's pulling it up now. Actually,
I'm trying to find
did
it.
This.
I'm trying to find it.
People always make the mistake when it comes to like New Year's stuff of doing it too late. Like December, worst time to do New Year's stuff. September though, September is the sweet spot, because
So here we are. This is an example of Dan made this video 5 months ago, how to start a YouTube gaming channel in 2021. You're on course for 1 million views this year on this one, Dan, which is excellent because you did the same style of video for 2020 and it got 1.3 million views. But obviously within the actual content itself, you'd learn new things after a year being a YouTube educator, and there's loads more new stuff. And I think absolutely, it's actually sometimes I would even target stuff that's highly ranked that is 3 or 4 years old and has changed significantly, and almost make their cover everything that was in their video, but in your own style and with your own way of presenting it in an updated version. And we did this with the new YouTube Studio when they changed everything about how it looked and how you use it. Videos as simple as how to delete a YouTube video, how to add a playlist, how to add subtitles. We just redid all of them, and in the new YouTube Studio, we rank highly for all of those topics right now. I think the one challenge I will say is that with evergreen content, usually in terms of search, you already have some well-established channels and videos there. And because it's usually you're looking for an answer to a question, unless it's a purchasing decision, viewers tend to gravitate to one answer or one video that gives you the solution. And so if there is something ranked at the top, even if you rank second or third, with such a drop-off of views, it can be quite hard. But if you're already ranking in that area for something that you made a while ago, then yeah, I would definitely think of an update. Because we've sometimes done this, Dan, and it's not worked, isn't it? Like you did an update to how to get a creator code, and the second one tanked for some reason, maybe because we were a bit too late in the update of a video.
For 2022, I already have so many things I've learned just in the past 6 months since making that video.
Yeah.
By the time I get to next year and I redo that video again, there's going to be a whole new batch of tips, a whole new batch of stuff to share. And it feeds right into what I'm always trying to tell people too. Like those of you who want to do multiple things in your channels, if you invest the time to become like the very best at the one thing, it's going to benefit you so much more. This isn't just gaming advice anymore. This is for everything, but I can use games as the example. Instead of playing 10 games in your channel, play the one, play it on YouTube to share value with people. Play it for yourself. Sorry, my camera froze. Play it for yourself to learn more about it so you get better at it. And that will make a huge difference the next time you go to upload, a follow-up video, for example, and you can share even more value. Just become the best at that thing. We've answered a lot of questions today.
We have.
I hope that it was a good variety for you guys today.
I think we give
business and branding today.
Yeah, I think we gave everybody a nice variety of topics. Desiree, thank you so much for joining us, because your perspective is very, very helpful. And I really just appreciate it. When we have guests on, it's so cool to be able to just get different perspectives and talk about different topics. So thank you so much.
Yeah, especially when I'm in my I guess YouTube room 24/7, just hitting my head against the padded wall, just like YouTube, and we actually get some perspective from outside of YouTube.
It is different, and I know I've even gotten flack from my fellow YouTube educators, where they're like, "You take people off of the platform, you don't care about views and subscribers." It's a lot of that, but I think it's really important to remember, like, it's more important to have your content consumed and build yourself as an authority in something, and then everything else will have a natural follow through on it. And do everything in your power, guys, to make sure you are building an email list or something, because you cannot rely on a third-party platform to build a brand and a business. You will eat your words at some point, I promise.
So Desiree's channel is linked down below. Would highly recommend it, especially if you're trying to learn more about all the topics we discussed today. Any other, Women YouTube podcast, obviously. Women of YouTube podcast. I should enunciate.
Yeah, womenofyoutube.com for the podcast. And of course, happy social media day, everybody.
Yes, celebrate by starting to see yourself as a brand, and create some social media handles.
Yes, perfect. All right. Well,
thanks everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
See you next week.
Time.